I used to always, I tried when I was writing these textbooks, I took a few classes in schools because I wanted to see how the text would relate to school children. And we would always start off with this question. Someone would raise their hand and say, what do we mean by history? And I would sit there and say, well, you know, I can't summarize it. I've spent a lifetime doing it. And then I would say, you're sitting on a chair. The chair has a history. The act of sitting on a chair has a history. And they would all look at me and say, what? This chair has a history? And I would say, yes, because your remote ancestors sat on the floor, on the ground. Then they invented the very low seat, what we in the old days used to call the piri, which was quite low, that much off the ground. And then gradually it got higher and higher and higher until you began to have chairs. And when you got high enough and had chairs, you had a back to the seat, you had arms to rest on, and it became a comfortable way of sitting down. Now, this didn't happen right at the beginning, it happened over time. And the historian of the chair will look into the issues of what went into changing it. And then, of course, the symbolism of the chair. Why is it that the throne is always a chair, or is a sort of gaddi with arms and backrest and so on? So that symbolism comes in. And then I would always end up by saying, and then there's the function of the chair. You go to the dentist, you sit in a dentist chair. And the fundamental, absolutely extreme function of the chair, of course, was the electric chair in America, which was used for the final punishment. Now, what I'm trying to say is really that everything that we use that surrounds us and so on has a history. And we can't just bypass it and say, no, we have to be aware of this. This is what you're teaching the child. Every object you see, every action you do, ask yourself, you know, is this something new? What is its function? How did it come about? The curiosity about things.